The world of Ruderen, a young and old land of great kings and empires, magic and mystery, caravans across the lands and voyages across the seas. Our story takes place on the Octalian continent, the central continent of known civilized life. The other continents, though, the far lands, Dusk, Tundratic Isles, and more, are being discovered, or rediscovered, or created as the world progresses. The continent itself is filled with 8 nations. Dazarath, an ancient elvish empire as old as the continent, once ruled the whole continent. Dazarath is now pulled back to its homelands and practices a strict isolation policy. Many believe they are just biding their time. Dazarath is ruled by Emperor Palparus and may have a lot of inspiration from a popular science fiction world. The next is the city-state nation of gnomes and halflings, Glonshire. A trade-focused nation, utilizing their farms and geopolitical position, this nation thrives as the equivalent of like Switzerland of Octalia. The current leader is Warbor Mol of the city-state Inkelnaw. Our heroes began their journey in Glonshire. The other nations are Ashiel, the elvish kingdom led by King Aegis Salangale, Imperator of Justice, Protector of the Voice. Ashiel was founded by a faction of ancient Dazarathian elves seeking their own path in life over differences of ancient politics and religion. Today, the royal family rules the land with the help of the Phoenix Syndicate, the foremost power in magic of the land. The Phoenix Syndicate also runs the Pinewood Institute, the greatest magical school of the land. Roofwood is the land of dwarves, submerged and isolated in the great roof trees. Think like redwoods, but 10 to 100 times bigger. This was the first non-elven nation to be founded on Octalia. These master smithies are perhaps the greatest in the lands in technological and scientific advancements, but only those able to navigate into its thick forests can find it. The current leader is Apex Agnar. Isadalia, the endless sands, protected by the vast plains and deserts, the oases here are filled with primarily human and dwarven peoples. The country is a democracy with 2 central rulers, one dwarf, one human. The dwarf is Bokerlig Shuriman, and the human is Rinron Shuriman. Hecopius, one of the younger nations, founded by an ancient leader known as King Hekolo, the first ever human to be seen using magic. With this, he conquered many small human nations and formed Hecopius. In the last 100 years, Hecopius has expanded into a warrior nation, growing at an incredible rate and making many enemies. Hecopius is currently at war with Isadalia and in a war against Caporan. In previous years, they signed peace treaties with Ashiel and Dazarath after brief wars with them. The current ruler is King Ethelbert, the Contemptuous One. Caporan is the youngest nation, if nation is the best way to describe it. In reality, Caporan is an idea that was formed as a nation of all continent people, excluding Vligatians, and a controversial creation. Formed 70 years ago from unused swampland in Hecopius, its land of brigands, outcasts, and more. While originally it had a single ruler, after their death 40 years ago, the land has turned into a lawless place run by a variety of small, local tyrants, all with the hope to be the one that unites the nation. The 2 most prominent are Alistar Bavo of Anchorage Port and Gomez Springtomb of Quaymire. Lastly, there is Vligate, which occupies itself on a large island off the coast of Isadalia. Vligate is filled with those who came from the far lands, primarily Thesk, but other places as well. Long ago, the great Mzeri tribe of Goliath appeared from across the sea, seeking fellow civilizations and livelihood. Due to their monstrous origin, however, the nations of Octalia disagreed with their landing. Eventually, a rule developed in agreement that Vligatians, who consist of monstrous races, tieflings, turtles, and more, were not allowed to step foot on the main continent. Trade would be permitted, but they were to remain on their ships. The current ruler of Vligate is Rex Kitava. Our story follows a group of adventurers who met in the city-state of Krasos in Glonshire. allying together under the patronage of a strange dwarf named Gorm. Of Gorm's anchors, they encountered strange creatures called the Zulgrians. The Zulgrians are these plant-like parasitic creatures that insert themselves into the bodies of people who take them over, retaining memories. Contracted by Sir Valentis, the now leader of Krasos, they are on a hunt across the continent to eliminate these creatures before they enact some sort of plan with their purple god. But along the way, they have dove into a deep political mess within Dazrath, encountered secret criminal organizations, and even permanently lost a party member. This is the story of the Alliance of the Anchor. Meet the cast.
Hi, I'm Curtis, and I'm playing as Darvin Amakia. I am the son of Erden Amakia, the once great archwizard of the Pinewood Institute in the elven nation of Ashiel. My mother, Atala Everwood, is a human woman of Isadalia. She's a sailor and merchant, but when they married, my father was forced out of his position at the Institute. They then began to travel the world, my father searching for arcane secrets lost to time, and my mother building and growing her shipping and trading business. I was raised on the seas, where my mother taught me to sail, and my father, without a class of young mages, began to train me. I think he saw some potential in me that he wanted to bring forth, though my training was never completed. When I was 15, my father died when a sudden storm struck our ship while traveling back from one of our family's adventures. After that, I spent a few years working for my mother and studying the arcane without my father's guidance. Soon I felt that my presence in studies only served to remind my mother of our terrible voyage years prior. So I left and went off on my own, traveled for many years. My travels eventually led me to the city of Krasos in the nation of Glonshire, where I had an encounter that changed the direction of my life forever.
My name is Jarrett Weiss, and I play Orion Valkian. I'm a banished officer in the Dazrathian Imperial Army. During a crucial battle between Dazrath and the armies of Acopius, I directly disobeyed orders to defend against a flanking enemy. After being banished to the Isle of Ruth for years, then wandering for more, I found myself in the city of Krasos in the nation of Glonshire. I had no purpose, no direction. Now it appears purpose has been thrust upon me. The direction is sending me home.
Hi, my name is Nate. I play Elron Kiro. I am a paladin. I'm follower and believer in the god Tempesta. I'm from Hakopius, which is one of the middle regions of the Octalian world. My weapon of choice is the maul, and it's pretty badass maul, if I do say so myself. And what comes with some of those attacks that I use are some lightning strikes due to self being a paladin. Do majority of the damage of the group, but definitely help take the brute force for them, as they can do what they gotta do, and we just all work together really well. Don't really have much skills out of battle. Not really useful in most situations, except for battle. Yeah, that's basically me. Blood, battle, ale, and bitches is my motto.
My name's Logan, and I'm playing Zonsian Hordair. He is a bard who's not only a lute player, but also more prominently, he's a writer. He's best known for his romantic thriller novels such as A Cave for Two and Arcane Romance. Born and raised in Anchorageport, which is located in the nation of Caperin, Zonsian spent a lot of his young years in the ports listening to stories of the travelers and sailors who came through on their boats. A lot of these tales eventually turned into ideas for his writing, which is how his career took off. Other than listening to stories down by the water and inside of taverns, he spent his time frequently trying to get his dad out of trouble. His father, Zavnon Hordair, was a gambler and a very bad one at that. He owed a lot of people money, including Lord Alistair Bavot, but Zonsian was constantly having to talk his way out of his debts. His mother, on the other hand, Walnoa Hordair, was one of the nicest moms anyone could ever ask for. However, was very sick for a majority of Zonsian's life. A majority of the money that Zonsian made throughout his career was spent on his family to get him out of debts and for medicine for his mother. Family is extremely important to him, and there is nothing he wouldn't do to protect them. Zonsian is very outgoing and tends to do whatever works best for him and those he cares about, which honestly isn't too many people. He has such a good way with words that those that he's talking to never really realize that they're being manipulated from the very start of the conversation. Zonsian was summoned to Dazarath to perform and work for the Javik family, a very strong political family in Mustaren. After leaving to head north, he joined with a very strange adventuring party to help in a fight that was heard up ahead. After the fight between the Drow and the Dazarathians were over, Zonsian decided to stick with the group for a little bit longer, just to kind of see where it takes him and see what kind of stories he could gather for future novels.
Additionally, if you want to know more about the world, I put a player's guide to the world in the description below.